Welcome to the presentation of a lecture from Gnostic Radio, a free public service from Telema Press. Gnostic Radio broadcasts free lectures from the Gnostic tradition of Samael Aun Weor. Each lecture explores another aspect of this timeless and sacred knowledge. Many of these lectures are supported by additional materials available on our website. Each Saturday, Gnostic Radio broadcasts live. The live lecture is accompanied by an anonymous chat session, allowing listeners to read additional explanations related to the lecture and providing an opportunity to ask questions of the speaker. All of the efforts of Telema Press, including this lecture, are made possible by the financial support of listeners like you. Help us to help humanity by making a donation. Telema Press is a non-profit corporation. Donations are tax-deductible. For more information, visit our website at gnosticteachings.org. Now, with heartfelt wishes for the end of suffering for all creatures, we begin the lecture. May all beings be happy. Welcome to today's lecture. We're going to enter into studying some fundamental aspects of Gnosis or Gnosticism, which may be a little bit unfamiliar to Western students. We're going to talk about the Gnostic Buddha. And to initiate this discussion, this lecture, I first want to emphasize that there are many variations, many varieties of Buddhism, many threads of that teaching which emerged after the appearance of the historical figure that we're going to discuss today. And as such, you might find contradictions. And I offer apologies to those who are scholars of Buddhism or who are well-versed in one tradition or another, because you may discover that much of what we discuss today will be unfamiliar to you. And I would remind you of one of the central facets of the Buddha's original teaching, which is that the monk, the student, the disciple, should always keep his bowl turned upright and empty. In other words, the mind should remain receptive, empty, with the ability to receive new information and new understanding at all times. The great Gnostic teacher, Samael Aun Weor, made a statement which is essential for us to deeply understand. In a lecture entitled The Esoteric Path, he said this: "Unquestionably, the two greatest leaders of all time are Buddha Shakyamuni and Jesus Christ." Of course, Western students will be more or less familiar with the story of Jesus. But it's important to, at the very beginning, recognize that both these words, or these titles, Jesus Christ and Buddha Shakyamuni, these are both titles. They're not personal names. These aren't names given at birth. These are titles that are earned. And in their depth, they have comparable or complementary meanings. Buddha, Shakyamuni, and Jesus Christ. Of course, the title, Jesus Christ, we've discussed many times. And this title is explained throughout the writings of Samael Aun Weor and the many lectures that have been given in this tradition. Buddha Shakyamuni is also a title whose meaning we'll discuss today. To begin, to set a foundation for this lecture, I want to relate another passage from the same lecture, The Esoteric Path, where Samael Aun Weor relates an experience that he had, in which he gave a speech, a talk in a Buddhist monastery in Japan. And in this Buddhist monastery, Samael Aun Weor spoke about Christ. And he was teaching the Buddhist monks about Christ. And due to that, since he was speaking about a Christian point of view rather than a Buddhist point of view, there was a kind of scandal or a controversy among the disciples of that temple. And Samael expected to be rebuked by the master of the temple, by the abbot. So the abbot of the temple approached Samael and said, "Why did you speak on behalf of Christ, knowing that this is a Buddhist monastery?" And Samael answered, "With the most profound respect to this sacred institution, I have to emphatically affirm that Buddha and Christ complement each other." And Samael says he expected a response from the master's point of view, a Buddhist point of view. But with great amazement, the master agreed. And the Buddhist abbot said, "Indeed, Buddha and Christ complement each other." And he asked for a thread, for a cord, a piece of string. And when they brought it to him, he asked Samael, "Show me your right hand." And the master then tied the thread around the thumb of Samael's right hand. Then he tied the other end of the thread to Samael's left thumb, and so tied the two thumbs with this piece of thread. And then the abbot said, "Buddha and Christ complement each other." Clearly, this is a kind of koan, a kind of esoteric riddle. The meaning is that we have many parts. We have many aspects, each of which has its function and its place. And when united, they harmonize and form a whole. And in that sense, Buddha and Christ are two parts of one perfected thing, which is our own consciousness. And the abbot of that temple fortunately understood that. He understood that the true Dharma, the true religion, is universal. He understood that at the base, every religion is really one religion. And when we find sectarianism, where we find doctrinal dispute, we find misunderstandings. Because in truth, religion is one. Buddha and Christ, in their base, are complements of one another. And yet, they are distinct. Of course, in Gnosis, we discuss the Christ in every lecture. The understanding of Christic energy, the Christic force, the Christ who is not an individual, but is rather a vast intelligence or energy, is something that we penetrate into and comprehend